Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
Does this mean that Tiger's tempo for his 8-iron and his driver are different, or they're the same?
They're the same. From a full swing, you should have the same tempo with your driver, which is the elapsed time from takeaway to the top of the backswing, and then the elapsed time from the top of the backswing down to impact. And so you should have the same elapsed time for anything for a full pitching wedge through the driver.
When I watch a guy like Ernie Els, who seems to be as smooth as silk, he seems to be moving slower, but he has tremendous swing speed, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you brought Ernie up. He's our perfect illustration of this. I got a question for you and your listeners. Between Ernie Els and Greg Norman, who has the quicker swing tempo? Obviously, anybody that's seen them both swing would say Greg Norman, correct?
Yeah.
Guess what? It's Ernie Els.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Our guest today is John Novosel, golf's leading authority on tempo. He claims to be the first instructor to discover and define exactly what tempo in the golf swing is, and the first to know how to teach it. He also holds a PGA Tour instructor card. His book, Tour Tempo, is a bestseller, and the Microplayer is a really amazing aid that I've been using for about 2 months now. And the results fall under the category of consistency and comments. Since I've been using the Tour Tempo Microplayer on the range and before a round, my shots have really been much more consistent. Consistently solid. You know, I'm not duffing the ball as much. So that has resulted in lower scores. But more interestingly, since I've been using this aid, I've had more people say to me, "Nice swing," than ever before. It's a really weird feeling, but I'll take a shot on the course and nice swing. And what they're trying to tell me is good tempo. Not that I've heard that very often before, so to hear it at all really has made me commit to using this thing more often. Let's find out more about it. Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, John.
Hey, Fred, it's great to be here. Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. You make an interesting statement in your book that there's a secret out there in golf fundamentals that most instructors aren't sharing with us.
That's right. Mostly the tempo. It's the tempo of the golf swing. It's something that's been missing for 600 years. There's been various attempts to define it and try to figure out what it was, and not too many on how to teach it. And most of the ones that are trying to teach it, they weren't based on science like we've done ours. And the best thing that we came across was Percy Boomer's book. It's called On Learning Golf. It was published in 1946. Percy was an English pro, and it's also the longest continuously published golf book in print. What he said was, it took me a long time to make up my mind to write this chapter on rhythm. And now, as I sit down to begin it, I am appalled by the huge gaps in my train of thought. In fact, I would like another 20 years or so to think it over in before writing about it at all. And now, this is one of the most popular golf books of all time, and this guy, I think, is one of the best golf books of all time. And, he just didn't know what to do with it because there wasn't any information out there. And nothing has changed since 1946 until we published our book in 2004.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
And so most instructors, they come out with their books, they come out with their DVDs and their trainings and their online videos and stuff, and they're talking about the grip, they're talking about alignment, they're talking about, the position, and then the all the different elements of the swing. I don't know how familiar you are with the Homer Kelly golfing machine and just breaking down the swing into 1,000 separate units.
Exactly.
But in all of that, and I don't think Homer Kelly ever, in the mechanics of the swing, it seems like tempo, and you're not the first person to bring this up, but tempo is critically important and overlooked.
Oh, absolutely. And the importance of tempo, we can probably go to one of the best, well, if not the best ball striker of all time, Mo Norman. There's a great sequence on Peter Kessler's show on the Golf Channel. He had Mo and Craig Shanklin on, and they were watching Mo just hit, ball after ball the same way. And Craig and Peter both asked Mo, how important is tempo? And Mo went, it's everything. He got, and the funny part is I feel like I'm kind of the Mo Norman of instructors in that, if anybody's do what we've done over the years is you got to be somewhat unorthodox. But Mo Norman said it was everything. And what Craig further expounded on, because Mo didn't tell you, he never told us how to get it. But Craig said that they took Mo's swing from a driver through a pitching wedge on full swings, and he displayed the same exact time from takeaway to impact, just the same thing that we have contended. Jack Nicklaus said we have 14 clubs in our bag, but we just need one tempo. And so everybody's talked about it, but nobody's really explained it.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking about the tempo of the swing. We're not talking about a rhythm. Right.
No, well, here's the thing. Here's what's messed everybody up is that everybody has put tempo, rhythm, and sequencing and all this stuff in there. I just break this all down into one word, tempo. And I know it's not politically correct. Everybody else wants to talk about, 3 or 4 different terms for this one thing. But the tempo of the golf swing is one specific thing for full swings and one specific thing for short game shots. And so what we wrote in the book and what I discovered by watching video of Jan Stevenson and Tiger Woods side by side is that they both had the same tempo. Wow. And here's a pretty amazing thing. Jan, we did an infomercial with her, and she's probably, she describes herself as a little person, and then you got a guy like Tiger who's 6'1" and buff. And all of a sudden, they've got the same tempo. Tiger was swinging an 8-iron in the 97 Masters, and Jan was swinging a driver at the range up in Minnesota, right before the LPGA event. And so I got home and went through them, and just by accident, I can't claim any, brilliance on this as an accident totally. But I was smart enough to know that there was something going on there when I discovered they both had the same tempo, because the prevailing thought was everybody's got a different tempo, so there's no use worrying about it.
And does this mean that Tiger's tempo for his 8-iron and his driver are different, or they're the same?
They're the same. They're the same. We should have that from a full swing. You should have the same tempo with your driver, which is the elapsed time from takeaway to the top of the backswing, and then the elapsed time from the top of the backswing down to impact. And so you should have the same elapsed time for anything for a full pitching wedge through the driver on every club. Absolutely.
When I watch a guy like Ernie Els, who seems to be as smooth as silk, he seems to be moving slower, but he has tremendous swing speed, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you brought Ernie up, because he's our perfect illustration of this. I got a question for you and your listeners. Okay, between Ernie Els and Greg Norman, who has the quicker swing tempo? Obviously, anybody that's seen them both swing would say Greg Norman, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, guess what? It's Ernie Els.
Really?
I took, yeah. And the only reason it looks different is Greg is, I don't know how you would put it in terms of tempo, but Greg is much snappier than Ernie, as far as Ernie is much smoother looking. And Ernie's tempo is, both of them were 3-to-1 type tempos. We defined the tempo of the pros. At least 97 to 98% of tour pros can, go with this rule. And it's 3 parts to the backswing, 1 part to the downswing. And basically, that's what happens with all the good players. And so those guys, we define it by frames of video. Each frame of video is a 33,000th of a second. And so when you see video on TV, you're seeing 30 frames for every second that passes by. And so that's how I discovered it, by running the frames through one by one. It's really boring. And that's why nobody's probably done it before.
But you're a swing geek. You love this stuff, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I really love it, yeah. And anyway, another great way to look at this is why Greg Norman lost the Masters to Nick Faldo. He had I think it was a 5 or 8 stroke lead and going into the final. And I still have the tape of it. Going into number 16, he pulls it in the water. In his normal tempo, good tempo, is we call 25 frames back and 8 frames down. And so on that particular shot, he was 31 frames back and 8 frames down. So to me, what he was probably trying to do the whole day was slow down his normal quick-looking tempo to get a little bit, to protect his lead. And so basically he was taking 25% more time in the backswing than he normally did when he was playing good. So basically there's just a lot of things you can look at like this and determine, what a person's tempo should be.
I'm glad you used the word a person's, because so far we've talked about Greg Norman, Mo Norman, Ernie Els, Tiger Woods, right? All these guys who we love to watch, but really shouldn't aspire to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. It's great to watch these guys, but they're freaks of nature.
Well, here's the great thing about the tour tempo is now you might not have their physical abilities. Let's face it, some of these guys are a little bit more flexible than I am. And anyway, but you can swing to their tempo. And when you swing to their tempo, your shots go longer and straighter. That was one of the main things we had to find out when I first discovered this. I had to find out if amateurs had the same tempo as pros. If that was true, then the whole theory goes out the window. But what we found is that amateurs have tempos all over the lot. And after the book was published a couple of years, Yale University, the Department of Biomechanics, and the Department of Physics did a joint study to see if I was correct on what we had said for the tempo standard. And what they found out was correct. The tour pros, they took students from David Ledbetter, Bill Madonna, and a couple other pros on the East Coast, and they put them with clubs that have accelerometers in them so they could actually get exactly what the times were. And what they found that the pros clustered around the 3-to-1 tempo. When they had club pros and good amateurs, they were a little bit more scattered, from that tempo. And when they got to just a regular weekend player, their tempos were all over the lot. We had one guy come in for school. His tempo was 56-11.
What?
And 56. So he took
56 to 11 was his tempo versus a 3-to-1.
Yeah. Well, he's 5-to-1.
He's 5-to-1. So that means. So what you're saying on that? Let's identify and define that, because I think this is what now we're getting to the stuff that I'm interested in, because we're talking about the recreational and the amateur players here. So this guy's backswing was let's say 5 beats to the 1 beat.
56 frames, yeah.
Right.
Okay. And Tiger's backswing when he won the Masters was 27. So this guy took twice as long as Tiger did on the backswing. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So all of a sudden, in other amateurs that we looked at, here again they varied all over the place, and most of them here's the problem. It's kind of what you referred to when we first started, and I don't have any problems with posture, grip, and alignment. Those are all necessary things. But basically they're overemphasized, and when tempo hasn't been hasn't even been looked at. And so basically where was I? We were talking about
the amateur 56 to 11.
Yeah, the amateur at 56-11. The problem is you got to have a reflexive golf swing, an athletic reflexive golf swing, and what everybody has emphasized is low and slow.
Right.
And so that's all you hear is take it back low and slow. And so basically that's what we find everybody doing. And truthfully, Tommy Watson's a good example of this. He doesn't take it back low and slow. I know Tommy's from Kansas City. Watched him play many times. And he goes up and fast.
So wait, this is Tom Watson we're talking about? Or is there a different person that I'm confusing it with?
Oh, no. I'm just saying as a pro. I mean, we're talking about, a lot of the information out there on taking it back is low and slow.
Right.
But, for example, the tour pros do not take it back low and slow. They go back on the arc, and they take it up very fast. So a lot of the things that we've heard about tempo, you can absolutely just throw out. Low and slow, pause at the top, forget all that stuff. That doesn't happen.
Really? Because I have a friend that I play with. This guy, he'll stand over the ball. He'll be at address for 20 seconds. I mean, it's 27, 20, 30 seconds. And then he seems like, without running a clock, just in my mind's eye, he's a 1-to-1. I mean, he's like... He goes back and goes forward is so fast that it's almost scary, and he's always hitting the ball off to the right and can't figure out why.
Well, okay. Well, anyway, nothing against him, but basically that's true. The longer you stand over the ball, mostly for an amateur, the worse your shot's going to be. Mm-hmm. And so we put in the book a pre-shot routine that everybody can follow. And I took this from Greg Norman, from Bobby Jones, Arnold Palmer. This isn't my original thing, but what we do is we take and use 3 sets of the tones to it. And all of a sudden, because for example, what do you start your backswing with? What starts your backswing?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
When you're swinging, what starts your backswing?
My hands? I mean, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right. I pull back, right? Or am I pushing back with my left arm, or am I pulling back with my right arm?
You got a lot of thoughts there, Fred. Okay. All right.
I mean, what motivates it? What does it physically? I'm not sure what you're asking when you say.
What motivates? What do you think about when you're starting the backswing?
Hopefully nothing.
Good. That'd be the best thing. But see, what starts my backswing is when I put the club down behind the ball. That's what actually starts my backswing. Then I go into a rhythmical sequence through 3 sequences of our tour tempo tones, and I do a specific motion to each. And once I've got that rhythm established, once you've taken all the left brain stuff that you want to do for the golf shot, club, distance, what the wind's doing, where's your bailout area, all this kind of stuff, and you get lined up, then all you want to do now is go on automatic.
Right.
And so
I try to do all that thinking when I'm standing behind the ball looking down the fairway.
Yeah,
or looking towards my target. Then when I step up to the ball, hopefully, and I'm going to take a side note here, but hopefully by that point my mind's clear, I just go through the action. Now, what I've noticed, someone like myself who started playing golf later in life, there's a whole lot going on in my head, and clearing it is not an easy thing. For the people I've played with who have been playing all of their lives, started as little kids, played, and passionate about it their whole lives, or even came back, there's nothing going on in their head. It's just more of a second nature for them. It infuriates me to play with them because they're going, you're doing this, and it's like, you don't even know what you're doing. It's just so second nature to you. It's such a different thing.
Yeah, that's exactly once you've played over the years, but you can get that ability right away. And all you need to do is go to the book, go to the pre-shot routine. There's a CD that comes with the book. It has the tour tempo long game tones on it, and it has quite a bit of video on it. And one of the videos is a pre-shot routine. We think it's very, very important. I don't ever hit a shot on course, and I try not to hit a shot on the driving range without going through the pre-shot routine because it's just so critical. When you get over a pressure shot, you don't want to be, thinking about your golf swing. And so basically all I do is go through my pre-shot routine, and it takes all the pressure off because, when you hit it, that's what you got. Then you go find it and hit it again. And that's the whole thing is what we were talking about before is you want to make golf fun. And it is no fun to be thinking all these thoughts and, trying to hit pressure shots. You should be enjoying the course and not worrying about playing golf swing on the golf course.
And that is so true, but we're going to stop right now this interview with John because we have so much more important information that I need to share with you right now. There's another 20 minutes of this conversation. We'll conclude it next week on our members-only show. We close today with a quote from Thomas Friedman's column in the New York Times after Tom Watson came up short at this year's Open Championship. It was a great column. It wasn't political, but I just loved what Thomas Friedman had to say, because we kind of repeat this to ourselves a lot. We've always mentioned, oh, golf is like life. Well, really, how is it? Leave it to Thomas Friedman to put it so succinctly for us. Golf is played on an uneven terrain designed to surprise. Good and bad bounces are built into the essence of the game. And the reason golf is so much like life is that the game, like life, is all about how you react to those good and bad bounces. Hence the saying, play one round of golf with someone and you will learn everything you need to know about his character.